And Beijing defiant this morning after a Chinese warship sailed across the path of a U.S. Navy destroyer and a Canadian ship sailing through the Taiwan Strait. Now, the U.S. Navy releasing this footage of the encounter. China's defense minister defending the incident, saying that these kinds of patrols, known as freedom of navigation patrols, are meant to provoke China. But Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, speaking at the same summit, said that the U.S. will not, quote, flinch in the face of bullying or coercion from Beijing. We'd like to welcome Mark Esper, who served as U.S. Secretary of Defense during the Trump administration. Secretary Esper, great to have you. So as you know, good morning. This comes after a series of provocative moves by the Chinese military, including recently a Chinese fighter jet coming within 400 feet of a U.S. reconnaissance plane, a spy balloon being shot down over the U.S. So the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says the U.S. won't flinch because of these aggressive tactics by Beijing. What message do you believe the country's sending, if any?
Well, clearly, this is a new level of aggression by the Chinese, of provocation. You mentioned a few things. We also have to talk about police stations in the United States run by the Chinese. We could talk about the FBI opening up espionage cases every 12 hours. But clearly, at this point, what the Chinese are trying to do is to assert rights and territory that they simply don't have ownership of. And what you're seeing is a new administration selected by the Chinese President Xi Jinping, and President Li is the new guy, and he's quite more aggressive than his predecessor, who I worked with, frankly. So you're going to see these tensions ratchet up. It's also increased, by the way, between Taiwan and China, where China is constantly crossing what we call the midline in the Taiwan Strait and trying to provoke the Taiwanese as well. So the Chinese are clearly pushing back. They are challenging the United States and the Western democracies.
Why do you believe those entities feel emboldened, or do you think that they do at this point? What sort of gaps are maybe we, the U.S., leaving so that they step in and make these moves?
Well, they believe all of the South China Sea, the East China Sea, the Taiwan Strait, all of that is their territory. They've claimed it multiple times, despite being ruled against in The Hague several years ago. And they believe that the United States and our allies in the region have no right to be in these waters. And the fact is that we assert our rights consistent with international law by doing what's called these freedom of navigation operations. And we do them all over the world, by the way, also in the Strait of Hormuz, in the Persian Gulf, and other contested areas. So, look, this is the competition of this century between the democracies and the autocracies. And what we're up against is defending international rules and norms and values against the Chinese Communist Party.
Do you believe these instances are being ramped up? And if so, why now?
Yes, I do believe they're being ramped up because Xi Jinping, who just got an unprecedented third term as leader of that country, has declared that he wants to return Taiwan to the mainland. And the Taiwanese, of course, are their own country. They have asserted that they want no part of that right now. And so I think what he wants to do is solidify his role in the pantheon of Chinese leaders by bringing Taiwan back into the fold. And so what you're seeing is this incremental increase. And look, part of it has been provoked by the fact that Russia, another autocracy, invaded a smaller democracy, Ukraine, and is being beaten back pretty bad. So there's a parallel here between Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan. And this is stirring up a lot of this as well in the Indo-Pacific.
We have about 30 seconds left, and I know this is a loaded question to ask with just that much time, but should the American people be concerned about a greater conflict here in the near future?
Well, I don't see conflict as imminent and not even inevitable. In fact, we want to avoid that because a conflict with China would ripple across the world economically, financially, and not least of which, of course, militarily. But that said, the American people need to know that we are in this new era of competition where it's going to get increasingly tense with the Chinese, and we need to stand up for our values and for what's right and be prepared to gird ourselves for that type of friction reminiscent of the Cold War.
All right, former Defense Secretary Mark Esper, great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.